Oh, okay. What's up, everybody? Crapgamer here. We just got done watching the Sony E3 press. I got Mooch 78 here with me again. Hey, Mooch, what did you think of the Sony E3 conference?
Well, let me just put this out there first. I did miss the first 35 minutes or so just because I was working late tonight. But I think I got the gist of it, and I've been talking to enough of the Twitter community and a couple of my friends that were watching from the get-go. Here's the thing. We really saw Sony backpedal on what they've been basically, to quote you guys, being hypocrites all year long. I saw a tremendous amount of indies. We saw the games that we thought we'd see, the games that we didn't think we'd see. I don't think we want to see. Um, and some of the hugest Sony fans that I follow on Twitter were utterly destroyed after tonight's show. So to me, it was just what I thought we would see. Again, crap, I'm not going to steal any thunder from you, but I think you did call it. You've
Yeah.
said it in the past. You quoted what would come out tonight, and you nailed it. And there was nothing really exquisite. Now, could you fill me in on what I might have missed the first 30?
Okay, they opened up with was showing it was like a Destiny thing. It wasn't even a live demo though. Like they showed Destiny, um, and then they went into Far Cry 4, which I had already seen at the Ubisoft conference earlier in the day. So I mean, Far Cry 4 does look good, but and Destiny looks okay too. And they were doing there's some kind of DLC for Infamous Second Son where you don't need the game to download the DLC or something like that because it's a different character or something. So
Right.
I mean, so they were talking. It was like DLC, and then they did this entwined indie game, and I think that was like the first 30 minutes or so. It was like, wasn't very. Oh, they showed the order, but and that looks good. I'm gonna say, that looks good. But the problem that I have with that is it wasn't a live stage demo. Um,
Right.
it was like pre-done or whatever. And so the thing that bothers me about the game is the black bars take up a large part of the screen. Like I'm not sure if that's like going to take up that much of the screen on the actual game, but it's like I don't know, like annoyingly on my TV, like a good chunk of the screen was taken off. So I'm like, okay, and then you're actually watching the gameplay, and it goes like it goes from like cutscene to like a quick time event kind of thing that you got to react to, and then it'll go to like gameplay where you're shooting or whatever. So I'm not sure I was a big fan of that. I will say that the game looked pretty good, and that might be like the first good like next gen title that the PS4 has, but they only showed it for like 2 minutes, and then they go into, I don't know if you saw the Little Big Planet announcement.
I did not.
Okay, so Little Big Planet 3 was announced. That was like the big surprise, I suppose, today. It's coming out this year. So that was like the big surprise for this year. They didn't even show Drive Club at all.
Well, I mean, this is where I'm kind of going with this. This looked like a really poor performance, and like I say, I didn't see the first half hour or so, but Little Big Planet was actually from people that on the PlayStation side that I talked to. They said if we see that, that's actually a disappointment. That's not something they were looking forward to. You look at this, all right. Figure you come home from work or you're just playing a game. You sit down and you play Sunset Overdrive. That looks exciting. Can't wait to go home. The Order is looking good, but at the same time, it's not something that's exciting. Like I can't wait to get home and check that game out. It's just not exciting. It's kind of a cinematographic kind of take on a video game, and I just felt like the one thing that Phil Spencer had mentioned all week and all month leading up to today was games, games, games. I'm not going to have suits on stage. And what a role reversal we just saw. I mean, you had
Yeah,
the new Sony president up there for the last 20 minutes talking, and he was an awful public speaker, I might add.
yeah.
This
I
is
don't know. Did you? Yeah, did you watch the our podcast that we were doing with that live? Like the show wouldn't end. That's what we were sitting there saying to her. We're sitting there and like Showstoppers literally laughing at this. It's so bad. and we're like, is it over? Because his stream was ahead of ours for some reason, and we're like, Showstopper was at the last game, man. It's got to be over, right? He's like, no. He's like, now they're showing a Ratchet and Clank movie trailer, and then we're like, is it over after that? And he's like, no, they're showing that leaked Metal Gear trailer that we saw this morning. That leaked. They're showing that, and then I was like, oh God, is it over yet? Because their show went longer than an hour and a half.
It
And it wouldn't end.
You tweeted out or something. You said, "Is this crap over yet?" And like, I mean, it really just kind of dragged on. And I made it. I sent a tweet out probably about, God, what was it? Maybe 20 minutes left in the presentation. And I said, "Is anybody noticing the clapping is getting lower and lower? We need Sony to scream out another lie." Like, they needed something. They didn't even do their usual lie or spin something. I mean, it was just awful. And the other thing, actually, that a couple of people wrote into me right away was they said they were just shocked at how Sony flat out didn't show up. I mean, they just didn't show up. They had nothing
to show. Phoned it in. They completely phoned it in, as far as I'm concerned. Like, wow. I'll say this: Jack Trenton was kind of skeezy in my opinion, but he was good at speaking. And those guys like Andrew House and his real high-pitched voice, and you had Yoshida out there in this suit that looked like it was like 3 sizes too big, you know, and you had the new president out there, and he's looking like a politician with the thumb pointing and stuff like that, like just talking about just the most ridiculous things. And this is the thing that I'm going to say to any of the fanboys that would want to, you know, yeah, I prefer Xbox, I've said that, but if you think Sony won E3 or brought their A game to E3 today, you're insane. When you complain that Microsoft talks about TV, apps, and entertainment, and they do back-to-back E3s where they do nothing but games, and in both these past E3s, Sony has talked about apps, Netflix, PlayStation TV, PlayStation Now. They're talking about all this crap that's not games. But then in the next sentence, the guy goes, because we're for the games. But they just got done talking about VR and all this crazy apps and stuff, right? So, I mean, they're like bullshitting people right on stage, right to your face. And I'll also point out that no Last Guardian, which means that is officially canceled, in my opinion. And I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, Sony clearly didn't want to say it's canceled yesterday when it leaked that it was canceled, because how bad was that going to look with that horrible show that they had tonight? It was awful.
That's exactly what I said yesterday. Remember, I was saying they either got to, you know, they had to act today on that, and The Last Guardian was not brought up. It is over. That is completely dead. So whatever IGN did report, apparently IGN was correct, and we found out who the liar was. It's Sony again. And just as we speak right now, Major Nelson just tweeted out to everybody, because he must be getting hit left and right, he wrote, of course GTA 5 is coming to Xbox One this fall. You know, I mean, everything they showed was a multi-plat for the most part, and their indies, crap, to be honest with you, they were terrible. I mean, let's go ahead and dissect their show for a minute. That's what we're supposed to be doing right now, and I'll tell you right now. Let's just look at the indies they put forward. The indies I saw coming out of Xbox One's ID at Xbox, like you said, they were beautiful looking.
Yeah, they were interesting.
They were interesting. You actually had people from Rev 3 Games, which, believe me, it's an uphill battle.
They hate Microsoft, I know.
They hate Microsoft, but they were actually complimentary to the ID at Xbox today. And I said, wow, Sony's games, basically they took, I saw 3 games that they were ranting and raving about only on this show. I hadn't heard prior. And it was like Journey, which Journey was a nice game. I played it. I beat it. Great for the family or whatever, but like there's no content to Journey.
Yeah.
It was an artistic game, and I'm not bashing it. It's an artistic game. You have to look at it that way. They showed 2 or 3 indie games tonight that were artistic, but they weren't, like, I couldn't wait to get my hands on it. Nothing was exciting that they showed out of there. And then they had that one there. What was the one? Crap. What was the name of it? Left to Die or Left. One more.
Yeah, that's from the Limbo people. Is the ones that did that, and that's going to be like. First on Xbox One or whatever.
Oh no, not Inside. Not Inside. This was the Sony one they just showed. It was Left.
Oh, okay.
They were promoting it, and he's like, "You're only gonna see this on PlayStation 4." And then they just showed a movie. It was a movie, and I'm like, "That's not even the game." It had like an icon of like a lifeline over someone's head while they were, you know, doing actions and stuff. But it was just a movie, and I'm like, "This is absolutely unbelievable. This is what a flip of script from last year." I mean, I'm just waiting till tomorrow to see either damage control from the Sony fanboys, and I'm waiting to see what the media is going to do tomorrow. I really can't wait to see, like, are they going to be able to twist it to where a lot of
You
people
know,
are saying it's parody? They were both the same, but I can't see it. Microsoft won hands down. This is a clear shot.
yeah, yeah. I mean, okay, you know what Microsoft did? Some people were saying, um, Microsoft would played it safe, but I think what Microsoft did was they didn't give Sony any ammunition. I mean, Sony tried to get that little schmarmy ass remark about a camera not being bundled forced on you, but guess what? The camera's not forced on anybody since Phil Spencer took over anyway. I mean that's something they removed today. So they tried to get schmarmy with that, or hey, you're going to get the best looking games, but they didn't even really say 1080p.
No,
I mean that wasn't.
I was just going to say that we didn't get the P's. We didn't
Yeah,
get the P lecture.
there was no peas about that. But the funny thing was they showed this like sizzle reel of these indie games that looked like Atari games. To be honest with you, like Atari 2600 games. And I brought this point up while we were watching it, and this was about halfway through the show. I said, okay, so the PlayStation 4 owners absolutely love 1080p, this supposed powerful console. Yet these are the games that you're getting and that you're happy about and bragging about. This is the thing that I've been saying for a long time is PlayStation 4 owners have incredible low standards for the PlayStation 4, but incredible high standards for the Xbox One.
Yeah.
They don't care that the PlayStation 4 is getting these little crappy like 8-bit indie games, but they give a great care when the Xbox One gets a game that might not be in 1080p. I would rather get a AAA game that's not in 1080p on the Xbox One than own a PlayStation 4 where all I'm getting shoved down my throat is indies. Now, if you're a PlayStation 4 owner, you got to be a little bit disappointed that that's all they're focusing on still. I mean, this was like, I'm not gonna lie, I would have rather seen Wonder Book shown off like 5 times in a row than this. It really just dragged on, and it was like people were complaining. Like, you heard the Sony fans after the Microsoft conference. They were like, they didn't really have any big surprises, but it was okay. Sony's gonna destroy them. This is what I kept hearing, and I was like, I wouldn't really open my mouth yet because you don't know what Sony's gonna bring. They're not gonna bring a lot for this year because that's not smart to do. Because you don't have that long to market your game. You know what I mean?
Well, we said it earlier today when we did the Microsoft review, crap, that basically we know that things are getting leaked now. I mean, I'm not saying I'm nowhere near an insider, okay? I'll give you my insight. But we look at what we actually have, and we knew what was going to be coming for Sony. Someone goes to me earlier today, they're like, well, you don't realize that Sony's got 2 or 3 tricks up its sleeve. And I'm like, I don't really see where you're coming up with that. There's nothing that we haven't even heard a glimpse of where you said, well, this is possible. There was nothing that was going to come out. And the same thing happened again. Can you tell me something, Crap? Can you answer me one question? Where does Sony, did you see the Sony crowd? I mean, they were clapping and lighting matches in the air when they were just showing indie games in the beginning of the series, or just showing, the order. Microsoft did game after game, intensity, like just fireworks going off on the screen. And then when the screen cut, I was like clapping in my house, and I'm like, there's nobody clapping over there at all. It's almost like they have like CEOs and like corporate sponsors at the Microsoft, and then they just have like the wackiest group of kids showing up for the PlayStation show at night. I've never seen like
Yeah, because who you notice. Yeah.
You know?
Go ahead. Yeah. Well, okay. This is what happens, right? For some reason, and I thought the same thing. I was like, why aren't people getting really excited about this? But then I was watching like some people's footage on YouTube that like capture from the back of the audience. You hear a lot more of the clapping and the excitement from back there than you did up front. I don't know what the deal is, like if it's like some kind of sound
That's
muffling
just
or
a sound or
something like
mic
that.
thing. Okay.
Yeah, I
I wasn't
mean,
getting any of it coming through during the Microsoft showing.
yeah, like I was like, okay, why aren't people excited for this? Phantom Dust, or they got this new Platinum Games exclusive. This is big news, and it didn't sound like there was a big pop from the crowd. But yet, then Sony shows like I don't know, some gay-looking indie game, and people are like, woo! I think that Sony just maybe mics the crowd up or something. I don't know, but it was like that had to be one of the worst E3s I've seen since like Sony's infamous 2005, 2006 debacles where they talked about giant enemy crabs and $599 US. Like, to me, Microsoft came to the forefront, was talking about games, and I like their whole refreshing take on acknowledging the competition during their E3 conference. They had people talk about their favorite games, like, and it didn't have to be Xbox games. It could be Nintendo, it could be PlayStation games. I like that. You know, after the show, Phil Spencer, Mike Ybarra, all these guys are like, congrats to Sony, great conference or whatever. I mean, you know, they had to watch it and seen the little digs. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
I
that's
mean,
the other thing.
you had
Actually,
to.
that's what I was actually going to say, and I lost my train of thought when we were first starting. Was a lot of Sony guys that I follow on Twitter, they all tweeted out that they're getting sick and tired of actually the jabs. They're like, it's all about like, one up in Microsoft as far as the Sony fans are concerned. But they're like that Connect jab, and they're like, the 1080p. They're like, we're getting tired of that. Now show us something. I'm getting tired.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not that I don't know if he listens to this podcast or not, but Zaire did a one-on-one with him, and I do listen to him. Zobi70.
Yeah.
Cool Nerds. Man, that guy is, he's a diehard Sony fan, and to hear him, like, I watched every tweet he had to say tonight, and he was spot on. I mean, he's furious. He's like, I stand behind this brand, and I'm sorry, Microsoft kicked ass today. Like, he was as clear as a bell. You could, if you're a follower of his, you know what I'm talking about. And I thought he put it down very well, and it was good getting that perspective, because of course, like, I try to be not just biased to one side, and most people, of course, that me and you are both grouped that way. But at the same time, I was actually, crap, I'll be honest with you, I would tell you right now that if they had a Vita, and let me explain myself first, if they had a Vita and PS4 bundled for $500, I probably would have pre-ordered it tomorrow. Now, you're probably saying, what do you mean? Why? Yeah, I understand. Vita doesn't have much. I figured, here's what I would be getting for my $500. Not a lot of software, but I am getting a decent chunk of hardware for $500. But they didn't even do that. I mean, there's supposedly down the tunnel, there's going to be a $560 bundle. I'm sorry, $560, taking $40 off, taking two SKUs, putting them together. That doesn't interest me. I thought at the end they would have been like, and now coming to the United States, United States, Canada, Mexico, we are gonna have a bundle Vita and PS4 for $500. You would have got that ridiculous crowd to stand up and light a match again, and I would have been like, you know what? All right, I'll at least grab the hardware. Let's see what you got after that. But they didn't even do that. I mean, they've got to give, to me personally, coming from an engineering background, you have to give that hardware away right now. No one's buying the Vita. Nobody cares. They spent time talking about the Vita again. That guy who came out and he was shedding a tear, that indie developer crap, that was hysterical. I was shedding a tear too, but I felt bad I put into the fucking thing. I mean, it was awful. It just looked terrible. And, so, I mean, and then, did you catch something that I saw? Crap, let me ask you this. I saw that Broforce. Did that not look a lot like Super Time Force, just Sony's edition?
Yeah, it did. It did. But I'll also say this: Sony was very careful with their wording. Like, it made a lot of people were confused. Like, hey, is that No Man's Sky game an exclusive? Is GTA 5 exclusive? No, those games are not exclusive. They're going to be on Xbox One as well. Pretty much all the games, save like Uncharted and I don't know, whatever the hell. I can't even remember. They didn't really show much.
There wasn't much to really go over.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, Microsoft was saying, well, we're getting exclusive content on this game and that game, and I thought it was interesting that Microsoft seems to be the lead platform on Assassin's Creed, because you go and take the stage with the one that you're lead platform with. Usually it's Sony, but they're showing you, even at the Ubisoft conference, they played it on Xbox One.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that says something for it. Wow, that was just such an ugly. I mean, even after the show, when we went off air, me and the guys were just talking, saying, man, like, not fanboying out, but that was just a terrible, terrible showing. Their new president sucks. They might want to consider bringing in somebody just to speak. But Microsoft seemed to have a clear vision and idea, and Sony, to me, didn't. They were just kind of all over the place. Like, when you watch Microsoft show and it's all about games, and you're preaching that you're all about games, and then you see Microsoft do all the things about games, and then you're going to sit there and talk about Netflix and PlayStation TV and apps and Ratchet and Clank movies. I mean, at what point do you realize that you're a hypocrite? You know?
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, let's just you go category for category, and I'm not going to bore anybody here, but I mean, let's just talk TV. If we're talking TV for a second, you're talking Ridley Scott, you're talking Steven Spielberg. These are productions that are coming to Showtime and then eventually to Xbox Television. These are shows that, like, even if you have no interest in Halo, the sci-fi aspect alone is going to gather some interest. I don't know who in the world, even the audience didn't clap, who wants to watch a Ratchet and Clank cartoon. I mean, they don't have any content. They just didn't have anything. And you said it yourself. Maybe they need to hire a speaker. But the new Sony president, boy, he makes Don Matrick look like, Don Rickles. Like,
Yeah.
he's just, I hate to, pardon me for using such an old name, but I mean, all honesty, like, that was terrible. That was absolutely awful. And I'm hoping that somebody from Xbox, from Microsoft, above Phil Spencer hears this. Phil Spencer, he's doing more than just the actions we're seeing him do as president. He's kind of starting like a cult like following. Like, people believe in what he's going to do. I said this earlier. Like, he's got the hearts and the ears of an entire group that works there, and they will do what he says, and they will work their asses off for him.
Don't they look happy? Like I was mentioning this, the
Yeah.
Microsoft employees look happy. Last year, they didn't look happy. They were just kind of sluggish, you know what I'm saying, just going through the
Yep.
motions. This year, they all looked happy, like they're enjoying it. Even Phil Spencer tweeting, hey, there's a new energy in the hallways at Microsoft. Microsoft didn't announce the price cut at E3. They didn't talk about anything but games, and that's the perfect thing because you know what? They can talk about movies and all this stuff at places that aren't E3. And if Sony's going to sit there and preach that they're for the gamers and all about games, and then talk about things that aren't game related, then they're hypocrites. And if their fans can't see that, then I feel bad for them. I mean, look, you got to admit when there's a bad E3. Microsoft has had some bad ones. You know, they got Usher on the stage or whatever, or the
Yeah.
little kid with, oh, hey, Skittles. You know, those are bad E3s on Microsoft part. I'll be the first to admit that. But the Sony fans got to come out and say, hey, this was pretty damn bad for Sony. I mean, Sony phoned it in. Like, I heard from multiple people. I'm not saying that I'm an insider or know a bunch of insiders that said that Sony was worried when Phil Spencer was promoted because he relates to hardcore gamers. Um, you
Yeah.
know, and they weren't prepared for that. And he's sitting there doing monthly updates and listening to the fans. So whatever the fans want, they're implementing, and he's basically thanking the fans for helping make this console better. You know, like Sony, I don't, yeah, they might have listened somewhat, or more or less reacted to what.
Well, that's it. There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you for using the right words, Crap. They reacted to what they saw. And I know, you made a comment earlier today, and I agree with you. I mean, Sony's, you take your hat off to them. They are a big company. I may have come out and said that they switched, slides so quickly. But to be honest with you, they just reacted last year. They said, wait a minute, we saw the audience kind of shrug. Let's go the opposite here. And listen, they know. Xbox and Sony know exactly what's going to be coming out for the next 36 months for their system. They knew they didn't have anything for the next 24 months. So how are you going to beat people? Let's talk about it. Price and criticism. And they rode that train, and they had the help of every single outlet that is a gaming media center behind them. I don't know why. I have no idea why. But, I mean, even tonight, guy that blocked me a long time ago, Jim Sterling, he came out and said this was a terrible E3. Now, I'm not quoting him, but it was basically that. He said it was not a good E3 for Sony. And to hear him say that, my God, I just put my phone down. I said, I don't need to tweet anymore tonight.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at it, all right, like I was surprised. Jack Tretton gave Microsoft's an A. I don't know what he rated Sony's.
I don't
I
either,
don't
but
know.
I think
Yeah, I don't know yet. Um, uh, IGN gave Microsoft's a 9 out of 10. I've been
well,
seeing all positive for Microsoft's. I'm not sure what we're going to see on Sony's, but I did see some people like Andrea Renee. She does like stuff for Escapist. She says Sony brought up Netflix. Microsoft wins E3. I mean, this was the sentiment that I saw a
saw that.
lot on Twitter. I retweeted that. There was a lot of hate. Not, and I'm talking about Sony fans were hating it. They were just being realistic, though. They're like, "Wow, this is really bad." It started off okay, and then it just kind of went to shit. And then at the end, they tried to recapture it, but you can't recapture it by showing some multi-platform games that are going to be on other consoles, and then a remaster in The Last of Us. I mean
Well,
that's a game that,
I was still working tonight, Crap, and I hit you up on Skype, and I just said to you real quick, and I didn't mean to bug you guys during a podcast, but I said, what is going on right now? And you said, oh, they're going over the order, and you mentioned something else, and then you said they're showing this new indie, and I'm like, wait a minute, their conference is 25 minutes in, and they're showing the order. I mean, like, that's not good. I was like, they're pretty much shooting everything out that they got in the first 30 minutes that like got everybody clapping and raving, and they've got an hour to fill, and that's exactly what I came home to. I came home to that Andrea guy or whatever, the guy who has a very high pitched
Andrew
voice.
House, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was a girl or a hobbit when I was
Yeah,
listening to
dude, he sounds like he's been huffing helium, man. We
it.
were just like all kind of
And
laughing
then we
at
got
him.
the
It
new
was,
Sony president, and he was talking for 25 minutes. And I'm
yeah,
like, this is exactly what Phil Spencer said you won't get. I'm taking the suits off the stage, and I'm showing you games. And the first thing I did after Sony got done, I can't believe this, I've never bought in my entire life of gaming. I've never bought. I can't wait till Forza Horizon 2 comes out. Crap, I mean that
yeah. I
like
mean, it looks good. It looks
off the
really good. I
hook.
mean, yeah. I mean, I have to say this, all right. I love the Forza franchise. Forza Horizon 1 on the 360 was my favorite racing game of all time, and I think the reason why was because it looks like Forza, which is like the best looking racing game. It handles like Forza, which has the best handling in my opinion.
Yeah,
But at the same time, like some of the stuff that Forza Motorsport does wrong is like, in my opinion, is it gets a little bit boring because if you do the career mode or whatever, it's like off to this place or off to this place. In Forza Horizon, you drive and race where you want.
yeah.
It's just open world. You just rate you, and then you can like. That's what I like about it. It's fun. That was like
Yeah,
I put so much time into that.
it's the reason I'm a Call of Duty guy and not a Battlefield guy is I prefer the arcadey. I prefer more of that kind of play, and that's the same thing. I'm not a simulator, and Forza 5, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous, and the technology is amazing. So I'm not. This is not a bash. It's just not my thing. I don't want, like you said, I don't want to come home and simulate F1 racing or even it's not F1 racing,
Yeah,
but like that type of racing. It's just not my thing. But this here, like off track. They showed cars going off into the fields and like basically taking shortcuts, finding shortcuts, like that kind of stuff is like I don't know. It just takes it to another dynamic. And like I said, I love competition. I love competition.
Hey, I have a bit of a conspiracy theory here. All right,
What do you
we saw the Forza Horizon 2 stuff where they talked about the social aspect. Over 200 cars. It's 1080p. It's going to do like you can have over 1,000 people in your club.
Yeah.
Apparently, that's a lot more of everything than Drive Club. Do you think maybe Sony pulled Drive Club because it wasn't going to look as good compared to the Microsoft reveal of Horizon 2? Do you think that's a
Really,
possibility?
really good question, Crap. I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna ride with it. I think you're onto something. I wouldn't say that it didn't look as good because Sony, when they really want to put their best foot forward, they got decent hardware in there. We don't need to go over that. I think that they had to go in and tweak things because of things like, and they're not even going to be able to compete, but the Drivatar, the weather dynamic, I think that's the stuff they went in and tweaked. I think they tried to make it so that they can be comparable, so the games are comparable. As far as the looks, that's completely up for debate. I mean, yeah, I mean, you're going to get me to say, yeah, I bet you some of it was that. I bet it was okay driving game. Then they saw Forza and the way the dynamic was. They were like, holy shit, we got to step this up.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they actually went in and they went. Remember the words they used? We got to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
That's not a graphics thing to me. That's a you left some shit out. you know,
Well, yeah, I was watching some stuff on that pre E3, and people were like, "We played Drive Club last year, and it wasn't fun. It didn't handle well. It does handle a little bit better now." But when you look at Forza, them people that's the highest rated franchise of the last decade for a reason. You know what I mean? Those guys live, breathe, sweat. They do that with cars. You know what I'm saying? They're real car enthusiasts. I'm not sure what the people are that are making Drive Club, but are they really that into cars like the guys that turn 10? If not, then that's going to show.
yeah, but
You
you know
know.
what though, Crap? Let me tell you something. There's something that kind of originally I didn't know if it was going to come off as Chachi or not, but it ends up working out after both E3s have been shown. We saw the guys from Forza 5, the lead designer there. He showed up in that. What was that? Was that a
Dan
Lamborghini?
Greenwald. Yeah, Lamborghini.
Like, let me tell you something. Just to rent that, okay? Just to rent that is probably 40K for the day. Like the Sunset Overdrive bus that they created. Yeah, granted it's a school bus, but you buy the school bus and trick it out like that. That's another 50K. I mean, Microsoft's putting $100,000 into things that drive up and pull off before the show goes off.
Yeah, did you see the bus?
That bus was sick. Like, I mean, it's the attention to detail. And let me tell you something. That, my friend, is Phil Spencer. That is
yeah,
him saying, I want this to be like that. And if I don't see it, these are the things we don't see because we just see him as like a gamer. But this guy can bust some balls. And I told you this, these are little things, but those bracelets, the Xbox bracelets,
yeah,
everybody's walking around today that you're going to see in all the videos tomorrow with Xbox One bracelets on their arms that all glowed and light up, and people talk about that. I mean, I've been to New Year's Eve, things with my wife, and we go to these parties, and they give you these amazing like light up things. And the next day, when people are talking about the party, they're talking about these light up things that were free. They handed it out. My point is Phil Spencer did everything paying attention to detail, and that's why the show was amazing, and it was on the ground floor. If you watch the Emmys, the Oscars, all these things that are going on, the presenters are now on the floor. They're no longer like on a stage set far away where it's out of touch with the public.
yeah,
Spencer was 4 feet from his biggest fan. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
that's a big deal. These people that make these games that people want to reach out to, that they tweet to every day on Twitter, or they have YouTube channels, they were a couple of feet from their favorite designer. And that's what makes what Phil Spencer's like ecosystem coming to life. And it's not through games. It's not just the games. It's part of the show. And with Sony, what did Sony do? They had all their presenters 45, 50, 60 feet away from like the closest kid who probably won a ticket off of a PlayStation Network thing, who couldn't even see the guy. And the show was terrible. But I mean, that's we've already hashed that. It's just all these things put together are what I thought. That's why I think Xbox won. It was the attention to detail. It was the games. It's the leadership you're seeing. And now we just saw Sony's new leadership, and my God, they're in trouble. I'm telling you right now, Crap. They're gonna that guy's awful. Whoever they got up there is terrible.
Yeah, he wasn't doing him any favors. I mean, he was just like fumbling around doing like a politician thing with his thumbs,
Yeah,
like, you got to do this. You know what I'm saying? We were laughing at him. It was funny. I mean, people are gonna think that it's fanboys or whatever, but that was comical that what Sony did. That was like one of the worst E3s I've ever seen. I mean, you expect them to bring out something, right? I mean, they've sold like what? I mean, they didn't even talk about how many they sold, which was surprising, but. I think because
yeah.
people expected them to maybe brag about that a little bit, you know?
Listen, I'll tell you something right now. I was the first one that said it. I said it all during our Microsoft reaction video, and I'll tell you right now, I'm shocked they didn't go over numbers. And actually, they should have at least made it a 5-minute segment. I mean, they got some numbers, but I'll tell you something right now. I have a feeling, and you know this too already, by Christmas 2014, that's right, 2014, this year, you're going to see that gap closed between the country's Xbox launches and the games we just saw. I mean, just talking about from September 1st till the end of the year, we're going to get, of course we get Destiny like they do, but we're going to get Sunset Overdrive, Forza Horizon, and that Halo. I've been talking about that since we got off of our video with a bunch of people. That is got GameStop tomorrow is not going to be able to handle the tallies they're going to get for that.
Yeah, I mean, check. A lot of people like you can't underestimate it's fan service. Like, look, it's 4 games with a completely remastered Halo 2 with the original untouched online and the digital movie from Ridley Scott and the beta for Halo 5, all for $60. I mean, that's fan service to me. That's like a thank you. That's like a we appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? That's like, to me, that's a good gesture by Microsoft, because they could have easily said it's more expensive than that. But $60 is a hell of a deal for all the content that you're going to get. I mean, who the hell doesn't want to play through? What it does is it lets people who haven't played through the Master Chief storyline be able to play through it on one console. You don't got to go back to the original Xbox.
Yeah,
You can
that's
play them
me.
all. Yeah,
That's
you can
me.
play
That's
them
exactly
all
me.
on the one. And the funny thing is, people are like, "Well, why bring back those games?" Think about it. Halo, what came out in 2001? If somebody was like 3 or 4 years old back then, and now you're, almost, you're a lot older than that. Obviously, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's 14 years, so it's like maybe they never played that game or Halo 2. Like I know some people whose first Halo game was Halo 3. So be able to go back and play those other games are going to be big. Now, as far as I'm concerned, as far as exclusives, the best one that I've seen from any company, and I haven't seen Nintendo's yet, is Sunset Overdrive. That game has Game of the Year written all over it from what I've seen. It looks unique. It looks fun. It's colorful. I like what Insomniac Games is bringing to the table for Microsoft. I mean, what did you think as far as you've seen from exclusives from both? Which one has impressed you the most?
Well, yeah, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but Sunset Overdrive is they set the bar this year, and
Yeah.
nobody has come close to Sunset Overdrive. And let's look at again what Microsoft is prescribing. They're prescribing online. They want replayability. And the first thing they come out with today, as soon as E3 launches, I woke up this morning, bang, there it is, Sunset Overdrive, 8-player co-op. I mean, that's
Yeah.
I don't even know what it is. They didn't. I don't know. I didn't see it. I shouldn't say they didn't show it. I didn't see it. I haven't looked at all the E3 coverage, but that 8-player co-op is going to be absolute mayhem. Like it's going to be
You know,
crazy.
Microsoft, what I like what Phil Spencer did, he pushed the idea that using dedicated servers, Xbox Live is still the best place to play online, and that's going to give them an advantage. Like I watched an interview that Jeff Keighley did with him, and he asked him some kind of tough questions. He's like, "You guys showed a lot of multiplats. What would you say to people that would maybe say?" We could get this game on PS4 and it's going to look better. He goes, well, we got new SDKs out. We still have Xbox Live with dedicated servers. It's the best place to play online. So any game with the online service is going to be better on Xbox. So, I mean, you can sit there and say, try to push res or whatever as being a reason, but res doesn't make a game better. If the res is going to be equal on both, then I would say, especially if it has a multiplayer, look at all the games that are getting multiplayer. Ubisoft is pushing like Assassin's Creed. All these games are now multiplayer. The Crew, 100% online only. It's like a racing MMO. You have Assassin's Creed Unity, multiplayer. The Division, multiplayer. Everybody's pushing multiplayer, and Microsoft is ahead of the game where multiplayer is concerned. That's why I like Xbox, because I play 95% of my games online. I'm a Call of Duty guy too. Hell, I thought the new Call of Duty looked impressive as hell, and I had sworn it off because I didn't like Ghosts. I
I
didn't think
pre-ordered it.
Ghosts.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I pre-ordered it,
Yeah,
and I'll tell you.
like I didn't like Ghosts because, well, for many reasons, man. Like the thing that annoys me about Ghosts is they always say, "Oh, we're gonna stop camping. We're gonna stop camping," and then they took out UAVs. You know what I mean? And made these
Yeah,
maps like have millions of places to hide. So
yeah,
you take away UAVs and you're gonna have camping. Like I like the earlier Call of Duty formulas where you had Ghost or whatever, or you had stopping power. So
yeah, yep.
yeah. So I mean, I think that Microsoft definitely won the day as far as I'm concerned with their conference. It was steady and maybe didn't have a big megaton that some of us were expecting, but at the end of the day, they showed a lot more than what Sony did. And then Sony's big gun, which was the Uncharted stuff, was just CGI.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you said they didn't have a megaton, but it's funny. It's almost like addition by subtraction. Now that we've seen both, they did have a megaton, and the megaton, to be honest with you, was the fact that between now and the end of the year, there is Sunset Overdrive. There's the Halo remastered, which is like, a lot of people keep giving me slack about that. They're like, how can you be excited about that and at the same time criticize The Last of Us? And I'm like, but The Last of Us, like, we all just beat that. We probably beat it like 6 months ago. Came out a
Yeah.
year ago. But some people, took some time. I played the heck out of the multiplayer on it. I mean, but I'm done with it. It's a slow-paced. They didn't add to it. They added a map or two. They didn't really go anywhere with it like they could have.
Yeah, and it's $60 for the one game.
And it's $60 for the same game I just bought a year ago.
Yeah.
Now,
Whereas you're getting 4 games, a
yeah,
digital movie, and a beta access for the same price. And the games like Halo 2 hasn't. It's been 10 years since we
well, I'm
played
not,
that. And
I'm not just speaking for myself here, but you said it yourself. You said some people might not have played. Like in the early 2000s, I mean, that was my college years. I mean, like, I wasn't really playing a whole lot at that exact point. I was a huge gamer before college, and I was a huge gamer after college. But like, during college, I had other things, and everybody's going to have a different time or era where they didn't play a Halo, to be able to get all four of them and get the concept, the story, and then move right into it's going to take a long time. I don't care. Even if you're a fan and you've beaten them all, it's going to take you a while to go through them all again and enjoy some of the 100, that's right, 100 maps that you're getting in this remastered, and then come back and have Halo 5 just staring at you in the face, the continuation, right when you're done with this. It's a perfect feed through with the TV series that's done by Steven Spielberg and Ridley Scott. So, I mean, just amazing, amazing content where The Last of Us is really a money grab. I mean, people are like, no, it's not. It's a money grab.
It is. Not only is it a money grab, but it's filler as well.
It's filler.
You know, there's no real reason. Like I said, it sounds like you're a fanboy when you come up with this stuff, right? But look, The Last of Us is filler, and it's a money grab because the game came out last year. Microsoft, what they're doing is giving you 4 games for the price of 1, letting people play through the entire Master Chief storyline before Halo 5 comes out next year. So there is a bit of a difference there, and it's like 4 games for the price of 1. So I think that's a hell of a deal. And I also think that, man, Sony needs to go back to the drawing board with that because they didn't sell me on a PlayStation 4. In fact, last year, I'm going to wager that they didn't sell many people on a PlayStation 4. They talked people out of Xbox Ones, and they did a good job at that. You know, they fear-mongered or whatever. This year, they had nothing to really to do that with. You know what I'm saying? Microsoft had a steady show. There was nothing to really, you know, talk bad about. And so they were kind of left kind of confused, in my opinion, stumbling around. You know, I mean,
That was a really good line you just came up with right there. They didn't really sell PS4s; they just talked people out of Xbox One. So
yeah.
when they had their money in their hand and they're staring at it, they're like, you know, boy, Xbox is doing this and that and that. I really want a gaming console. I'm going to go back to what they're preaching. But you know what hypocrisy? How could you stand on a stage and say you're for the game or you have games? And here we are, we're 12 months going in, some more sooner than later, and they don't have anything coming out this fall. What do they have coming out this fall, Crap? I mean, besides
I
Minecraft?
don't know. They have a Little Big Planet coming out in November, I think. But you have to wonder if that game is going through a little bit of fatigue, right? Because
Right.
it's a newer IP, and there's already 2 of them on the PlayStation 3, 1 on the PSP, 1 on the Vita. Now they're going to come out with 1 on the PS4.
Yeah.
They also had Sackboy in that fighting game, PlayStation All Stars, and he had his own kart racing game. So they're kind of shoving this thing down people's throats, and I think it's maybe a good family type game. But are the hardcore gamers that were expecting God of War and Uncharted this year or whatever, are they going to be happy with that type of game? You know what I mean? I'm not 100% sure they are.
Yeah, I'm not seeing how they're going to get their own fan base to purchase these games. Crap, these big games. Do you have the sales numbers now that are pretty locked in stone for Infamous Second Son?
I don't. Last I heard, it was like at 1.1 million or something like that.
Okay, I mean 1.1. That's fine. I mean we can even give them a plus minus of another 200,000. That's fine. My point is that's the only premier game to come out for a system that has probably an 8 million install base around the world. That's sad. And like you wait and see the Halo numbers that are about to come out. Can you believe that a game that is coming out in November that is all old games, 1, 2, 3, and 4, that's going to be a console seller?
Yeah, I mean, I seen a lot of people today going, take my money. It looks like I'm gonna have to get an Xbox One. The main thing is Halo 2 is a lot of people's favorite in the franchise. It had one of the best multiplayers, and it's untouched. I think they were really smart to mention that it's untouched, so you're gonna be able to dual wield and do all that cool stuff. They're having Forge in all the Halo games, so you have that. They're all on dedicated servers. The first time you'll be able to experience a Halo game online on dedicated servers. That's huge.
Hey, Crap, let me throw a question at you. You've thrown a few at me. Do you think that developers are going to start to see the power of the dedicated servers?
You know what I think? Yeah.
Going to start to ask Microsoft if they can start using them?
Yeah, because they're free. I think that last year was probably a little bit too soon because those games were already in production and things like that. Like Call of Duty, they tried to pass off that they had dedicated servers, but they didn't. What they did was they used hubs that picked the best host, which is a lot different than dedicated servers. And I think that, they changed it up. I know, like, you used to be able to hit select and see how many bars you had. and they took that out of Ghosts. I don't know if you noticed that, but it's like it's really bad. Like you're sitting there lagging, and it's like, oh well, you can't see how many bars you have, and they think that you're not going to notice you're lagging because you don't know how many bars you have. But yeah, it was pretty bad. So if you had to give Sony a grade, what would you grade their E3?
Okay, I'm gonna be really honest. This is no fanboy. I'm gonna give him a C minus, and it's
Yeah,
you
I
know
gave him a C minus earlier too.
I didn't hear you say that. Right hand to God, I
Yeah,
did not hear you say that. I haven't watched either of the podcasts from the guys, which I'm looking forward to doing. Like I just had to work, um, but yeah, C minus because let's be honest, the content was a C. And in the minus, the lower portion of that grade comes from the presenters. I've
yeah, the
never liked
presentation was awful.
yeah, I've never liked their presenters. And then what I saw tonight was just awful. Because sometimes I'll be honest with you, like I do some public speaking, I do things sometimes, and there's times you get up and you've got content to talk about, but it's how you present it sometimes that gets the crowd to understand what it is you're actually doing on your slides. And they just don't have those people in place. They had. I just can't believe how the script was completely flipped. I
Hey,
wrote
look,
it.
I want to. There's a little bit of breaking news I want to talk about real quick.
Go
This
ahead.
guy in the comments section, Aaron Stark. So shout out to you. He just posted me the link. The Master Chief Collection is #1 on Amazon right now. Yeah, I mean the Master Chief Collection #1 on Amazon right now. That is something, in my opinion. I
Crap.
mean, people.
Tomorrow at lunch. Okay, Eastern time lunch. Not even Pacific yet. Okay, you're going to see a ton of numbers coming in. I don't think GameStop's gonna be able to handle the phone calls. And you know what? Let me tell you something. Since the external storage has become available, I made a promise that I wouldn't buy any more games on a disc, but I'm going to buy the Master Chief Collection on disc
Oh
because
yeah, I mean you have
that's
to. You have to buy that on
yeah.
disc. I
Call
think.
me
I mean,
nostalgia, call me my age cap, whatever. You got to have the disc for this, man. It's totally like a must have. So like what I'm really loving right now is that the 5.5 million install base right now. I bet you 3 million, not tomorrow, but eventually end up getting this Halo, and I bet you that this alone, with the markets they're opening in, are going to up the ante. And by Christmas time, if we're not 500,000 consoles behind them, we'll be tied. It's
yeah,
really going
I
to
think
change things.
yeah, like a lot of people were like, so Microsoft left the door open for them. I think that they didn't. What they did was had a nice, had a sturdy, I guess, or like, they had a good E3 to where they didn't give Sony any ammunition. Sony probably was watching Microsoft's show, maybe looking for a chink in the armor, like, oh, like maybe we can bring up that we have indies. But to be honest with you, the indies that I saw on the Xbox One, like we talked about earlier, looked much better. The indies that Sony were showing seem like shovelware to me. I don't know. It's like they look really bad.
Hey, how
You know?
about the show Hotline Miami again?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? A game that just came out like last year or something, the first one, and they're already making a sequel for it. So
I mean, not every night, but every time I kick on a game or I'm just jamming out or something, or a buddy says, "Hey, let's play some Titanfall," and he's like, "Hold on a second, I'll be right there." I switch over and I play one level at least of Super Time Force. That's an amazing. Like, don't get me wrong though. I grew up in the original NES. I grew up playing Bionic Commando, the real games, the old
yeah,
fashioned.
Bionic Commando was awesome.
Amazing game. I'd love to see that redone. Not redone the way they did it. Redone it the way.
Yeah, yeah,
But like Super Time Force is Contra and Bionic Commando and parts of the jumping elements of Ghosts and Goblins. It's everything I grew up in, all in one game. It's amazing. Then they put the time element in, which is amazing too. I love it. I love how they did that. I just jam out on that. I play that in between games, just goofing around and stuff. Like even if me and my wife are gonna watch a movie or something, and she's like, "I'll be right back," I'll just jam out, play one quick round of that. Like that's an indie game that's amazing, and Below is going to be great. By the way, we're not even talking about that. That's going to
yeah.
be. They're calling that Zelda for
I
indie.
heard that, and I've heard that the name of that game before. People are saying, look out for this game called Below. So,
It's made
yeah,
by
I'm
Happy,
interested
the same
in it.
people who made
Hey,
Super Time Force.
I want to point out something too. Like my followers and stuff. Like we almost got 100 people watching us live right now, which is a lot.
That's great.
Yeah, it's because it's so late at night too. But Bear999 says he's poking fun of the creative wording from Sony console debut. they were using that as, and it was tricking people, to thinking that it's an exclusive, and he's pointing out that it's timed exclusive or a multiplat. Console debut could also mean that that's the first time you're going to see the that footage or whatever. It doesn't mean Sony didn't show hardly any exclusives. They showed much less. I mean, I'm gonna count them up tomorrow. Like I'm tired as hell. I've been up since like 3:30 because I was so excited. But it's like I'm gonna count them up tomorrow. But even games like the new Dance Central or whatever, that's gonna find an audience on the Xbox One. They got that new workout game that that's gonna find an audience. People were actually impressed with that game. They're like, it looks fun. What I'm saying? I was surprised that people were like, hey, that looks pretty good. And I think that there's going to be a lot of media that has to eat a little crow, and a lot of Sony fans that thought Sony, all I heard, Sony's got all these great first-party developers. Well, Sony is not the best at having games when they launch a console. They don't have a ton of money right now. Microsoft has more first-party studios, so I think they have more of a chance of releasing better games down the road. But I think that we've pretty much tapped out. We both gave Sony about a C minus. I gave Microsoft a B earlier today. I really liked Ubisoft's conference today too. I thought EA sucked. I'm looking forward to seeing Nintendo's tomorrow as well. So
Yeah, I'm gonna actually check out what I missed after we get off this cast here, and
yes.
then if you guys have a post E3, then let me know.
Yeah, definitely, man. So I wanna thank you for coming on the show to do a little recap with me again, and I want to thank all the listeners and people that are watching now, for joining us. I really appreciate it, man. It's been a hell of a day.
Yeah.
I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart, man. You guys make my day, man. Getting over 100 people to watch the show and stuff. So I really appreciate it. My voice is like totally going out. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks, Mooch, for joining me, man. I appreciate it.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
All right, man. Later, guys. Crap Gamer out.